Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Yats and Offer Studio and the Wade and Carter Show. I'm Ash. He's Brent. Glad you're here joining us on this Caldo Wednesday morning. Ricky King, Rena Scherer, Cody Bauman on the podium this morning. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and glad you're here with us on this Caldo Wednesday. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Dearborn Hayfeed and Ranch Services. Stop on by for all you need for your home, your ranch, your gardens, your pets, your lawns, your plants. Even some home decor as well. Whatever you need, Dearborn Feed's got you covered.
Not to mention right now, they've got a special going on deer feed, not just deer corn. It's that time of year you want to bring out the good stuff so you can slaughter the deer at your whim. It's very Texas, nothing quite like. You feed them all year. You give them cotton seed. You make sure that they have plenty of water. And then September comes around and you kill them. It's just so American. Dearborn Feed telling you 79 degrees under sunny skies, not eclipsed skies in South Texas, heading to a high of 95. Ash, Americans, Texans especially, have no time for an eclipse. We have work to do. There's things to be done, an economy to drive. Parts of UK, all of UK, including Northern Ireland.
That's why there will be no eclipse in the U.S. today.
That's exactly. There is in the picture like a little swath that starts over on the West Coast and comes down from Canada, all of Canada, and then across like Michigan and across the New England states and then north to like New York and Nova Scotia and all that. All of that is going to be under a partial eclipse. The total eclipse, take that same circle and move it east to where you get parts of Russia, Iceland, and then into the UK and over into Valencia, Spain. That will get a total eclipse. And
of the heart?
Yes. Yeah. Is it Bonnie Tyler?
Bonnie Tyler, yeah.
Except for recently departed Bonnie Tyler too. Thanks.
Yep.
Shout out to her family. Sorry for your loss. Except for the oddity of it, I think in ancient times, before people were aware that the earth was round, I think it was a major anomaly to see any kind of eclipse. I'm sure they, in some places, probably worshipped such an event, and in other places, they probably panicked, like
served up people to the gods as a sacrifice.
Yes. Yeah. I still don't understand how people.
Marina.
Hi, Marina. I don't understand how people believe that the earth is flat. I just don't understand the logic of it. They seem to think that, so they see and they acknowledge that all around the universe there are orbs. They don't say that Mars is flat. They don't say that Venus is flat. They acknowledge that there are planets all around us. They've seen the photos from outer space, but they claim that they're not real.
Well, once it goes around that edge, it just quickly goes under the earth like it was sliding under a table and then pops back up.
Which, again,
I mean, it's so simple to explain.
Is a flat earther someone who believes that they also believe that the moon and the sun are much closer to us than reported?
Yeah, it's like looking in your rearview mirror. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear.
But I can't even put it together to where it makes sense. I mean, it's not a perspective thing. I've been in the front seat of an airplane at roughly 20,000 feet, maybe a little less. And even at that relatively low height, you can see the curvature.
Well, I mean, that's just an optical illusion based on the atmosphere and the gases and the sunlight wave and the refraction of the light. It's just pure optics.
So in a lot of ways, you have to be super smart to be so dumb, to convince yourself that that's the way it is.
Kind of.
There you go. So we said Bobby Leister, Ricky King, Rena Scherer, Cody Bauman. Good morning, Cody. Torrin Bales, Mark Kurtz, Scott Snow, Marvin Migish, Tammy Keeley, P. Strauss. I hope you got my video last night. I just thought it was funny. Jordan Glass. That's that interaction with all the top fans. They have the cell number of the crew. Jordan Glass, Linda Christ, Justin Glass. Just the glasses are here. Collect the whole set. Lisa Poole, Greg Garcia, Andrew Alvarez. Hey, John Anderson over in the Carolinas.
I was just thinking that was like McDonald's in the 80s when you could go in and get a whole set of McDonald's glasses with all the characters on them.
Doesn't it seem disingenuous for a store to say for a limited, it's a limited run, by the way, billions and billions served. Good morning, mother. There's Marion Carter checking in, my sweet mom. It's not surprising to me that mom's checking in. Today's the first day of school. She probably has a new dress on. First day of school back for the VISD kids, please.
That reminds me, for all you male teachers that are out there, I think it would be awesome if you put on slacks, a crisp white shirt, and your best tie in honor of Brother Gary today.
Amen. Amen. Always impeccably dressed, the brother man. Watch out for the kids in the crosswalks. Watch out for the kids that aren't smart enough to be in the crosswalks. There's your problem. There's your problem. The ignorant parent that drops off a kid and the kid just jets out into the road. That's the problem. So,
is that a kid problem or a parent problem at that point? Parent, in my opinion, hasn't educated that kid well enough on the ways of the world and how to cross a street.
Absolutely. Mark Zapata, Carrie Bump. I saw Carrie Bump yesterday over at the Villanueva's house. She was out. Carrie Bump, don't worry. We are watching you. Every move you make.
So speaking of parents that didn't, this whole Little League fiasco with Tulsa, they were kicked out of the regional in the Southwest.
Does that mean it's a slow news Caldo Wednesday?
No, I just think it's. I don't think it is. It's just we're talking parents, and I think it's an interesting segue into it because to give you the backstory on here in Tulsa, if you have a special needs child, they can play in their Challenger League up to the age of 7, and your older sibling can then play in the Tulsa National Little League region. It's kind of like that's one of their Northwest, Southwest, Southeast, Northeast Little Leagues like Victoria has, right?
Yeah.
Except they call it Tulsa National. Well, once the kid is older than the special needs kid is older than 7, that blurring of the lines no longer exists. They have to play in their home district. Well, the dad made a mistake when he entered the younger son who has the special needs, his birthday on the list. He claimed he was 7. He missed the birth year by 3 years.
Only 3 years. Come on, it can happen to anybody. Do you think there's a chance that the special needs kid, his older brother was a star, and maybe they thought, well, we can recruit this kid?
Well, he's good enough to play on their all-star team that went to the Little League regionals or sectionals. So yeah, he's probably a pretty good player.
That's right.
So anyway, they ended up being disqualified. Then they filed an injunction, got a temporary restraining order, and then the Texas judge yesterday said, in reviewing of all of this, we're going to kick out the restraining order, and the team from Bernie is gonna go on after they beat Louisiana on Monday night. So they now go to Williamsport, and the parents are trying to, but think of the kids. Think of the kids. You know what? Perfect lesson for the kids to learn here. Your parents try to pull a fast one. Yep. This is what happens. Be honest and be truthful, and this wouldn't be happening to you.
There you go. Greg Garcia added a while ago, the ancient mariners knew the earth was round. It was the scientists of the ancient world that were flat earthers. Torrin Bale says, I'm sure the communists will claim the eclipse is caused from global warming. Tammy Keeling comes in with a solid retort. Yeah, right after the fascists claim it wasn't. However, Torrin's comment is probably closer to reality, even though Tammy's is interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised the climate alarmists haven't done that. This just in, late breaking news. maybe there's hope for this country. Maybe Wisconsin is signaling that hope, because apparently David Crowley, who is considered a moderate Democrat, if such a thing exists anymore,
Right.
But it's still scary that you had a very blatant, in-your-face communist in Francesca Hong running for governor in Wisconsin, and she was barely defeated by David Crowley. When I last looked, this just came in. When I last looked, Crowley had like a 0.3% lead with about 95% of the ballots counted. So I don't understand the
There'll be a
appeal
new
of
sack
these communists.
in a couple of weeks. There'll be a new sack of votes that's found. I think what you're seeing here, Ash, and good morning, Patricia Nagel checking in from First State Bank of Louise. She might be the busiest, friendliest banker anywhere. Bless her heart. She's probably on the road to Sugarland as we speak.
I hope she got the extended warranty on her vehicle, because she's surely putting well over.
Yeah.
She blows through that manufacturer's warranty in about the first 6 months.
This is a good point that Torrin Bales makes, and it's worthy of you stopping and contemplating. A moderate Democrat is now a socialist. A mainstream party agenda Democrat is now a communist, and that is, we can call them progressive Democrat socialists. That is a communist. Good morning, Matt Boucher. I think, though, Ash, and I want you to stop and think for a second, there are different ways to protest. There are different ways to share your outrage. And I think what you're seeing from a number of Americans, some of them very much well-meaning Americans, is a shock vote that says, for example, I'd rather vote for Zoran Mamdani than continue on this worthless treadmill of the status quo. And I'm not saying that the people that voted for El Sayed actually said to themselves, you know what, I'm going to vote for this crazy Egyptian Muslim communist because I'm just that outraged at the do-nothing Republicans and the talking out of both sides of their not representing me mouths of the current Democrat Party. So I'm going to vote for this Muslim communist in protest. And maybe that will wake America up. Maybe the Democrats will give me a decent candidate in the future, and maybe the Republicans will actually do something while they're in control. Is that even possible that thought process works?
I think it could be, and I'll give you a recent example of where that went wrong. In Alberta a few years ago, the province of Alberta had an election, and the Conservative Party, which had governed Alberta for a long time, was sort of in disarray. The Liberals were kind of nowhere to be found, and the New Democrat Party, which is the socialist communist wing or party in Canada that seems to have some traction in places. Well, people were so disillusioned with the Conservatives, they actually voted for Rachel Notley and the New Democrat Party, and she ran that province for like 5 years. And what they found, and it was basically a protest vote. A lot of people were mad. They decided, you know what, I'm going to cast my vote. I don't think people thought enough of them would turn out and actually make a difference. I think enough of them voted thinking that, well, you know what, they might get some seats. They might actually form the opposition, but there's no way they're going to win it. Well, they won it. And it was a one-term government because things were so bad. By the end of that 5 years, people realized, well, you know what? The Conservatives may not be great, but they're a whole hell of a lot better than this pile of garbage that is now leading this province. And they voted Notley and the NDP out. But they're still reeling from it because now that the Conservatives are back in power and they're cutting some of the excess spending that the communists and socialists did when they were in power, now people are mad. Well, they're cutting they're cutting the things they gave to us. Yeah, well, you were just mad that you were overtaxed. You can't have it both ways. Right. And now Danielle Smith is leading, and I think that's part of what's led to the populist movement of separation in Alberta is that government overreach, and people are tired of it. But 5 years of misery, and finally, and they realized quickly, oh shoot, we made a mistake in voting in the NDP, but they couldn't fix it until the next election cycle, and by then, it's way too late.
Right. And Tammy asked a good question, and thank you for staying on topic. Seriously. It says, is there still a GOP? You're either MAGA or a rhino. Only MAGAs are patriots. Believe it or not, there are folks in the middle, I would say 80% of us, who are tired of who don't support the extreme and are tired of either quote unquote red scare. I can't disagree, but I have to ask people, and if you don't take it as the message of the big orange bully of Donald Trump, what part of Make America Great Again, what policy that anybody ascribes to Make America Great Again are Americans against? If I just throw out, we want to control our border, we don't want wholesale immigration without vetting, we want elections that are fair and honest, where people show up, present an ID that's been, they've had 4 years to get. Let's figure out how to make sure that the only people voting in our elections are Americans. We want that. We want America's interests assured through diplomacy. For example, we want our NATO partners to pay their share of their defense
that they agreed to pay. It's not like we forced them to say, oh, you must pay us the 3%. They all agreed to that.
I'm trying to find, and I'm willing to listen and learn honestly. I'm sincere as I can be. What part of MAGA, as you perceive MAGA, what part of I don't want partial birth abortions, I don't want special favors, special legislation for LGBTQ plus. It's such you talk about majoring in the minor. It is such a minuscule, legitimate part of our population as to not merit any special consideration aside from the laws that are already in place regarding discrimination, hate crimes, and all of that.
How is adherence to the Constitution such a bad thing for Democrats? There's no doubt. And how that's what I can't understand. Why all of a sudden is Supreme Court reform a big thing? Is it because, and I would argue that I think even though the last 3 Supreme Court justices have been appointed by Trump, I would argue that most of the rulings in this recent Supreme Court session were really I thought were very constitutional in nature and not necessarily Republican or Democrat. I thought they did the right thing in many of them by saying, you know what, Congress, you want to fix the problem? Fix the problem. It's not us to decide that. We're not the lawmakers. So you guys. And so, but why all of it? Why do you want Supreme Court reform?
So Tammy gave an honest answer, respected. She says Project 2025. Project 2025, something not initiated, period. Something not drafted by the Trump administration, period. Something that, again, find the parts of Project 2025. I've read most of it. I don't necessarily think that all of it merits government consideration, but I would love a specific of, I don't agree with this. What part of Project 2025 do we not agree with? Yes, Michelle Wilson Hawkins, good Constitution adhering parents want to have the rights to their children. I don't want my school system facilitating / grooming my child to be, it's okay, Billy, if you feel like a Lisa, we don't have to tell your parents about this. We want you to be happy. Yeah. That's ridiculous. If my kid starts coming to school and putting on a training bra when he's a 13-year-old boy, I want you to call me. The kid's got issues.
Yeah. There's a couple of things, as we get into this education piece that I looked into, now that I'm in Oklahoma and I looked to see if they had a voucher program, and they don't have a voucher program per se, but what they do offer are tax credits, and maybe because they have a state income tax, they can do this, but I think it's a much better system than just blatantly handing money to private schools through a voucher. They give the parents the tax credit for if they sign up or enroll their kids in private school. I think it goes back to the parents that way. So I think that's a better way to do it. The problem I have with Oklahoma and the problem that I have right now that in Texas is I don't see a way to measure the outcomes, and they're not doing it in Oklahoma. They're not measuring the outcomes of the kids, and they've only had the program in place, I think, for 2 school years. So it might be too early to start tracking that progress. But from my understanding and my research, they don't have a process in place here in Oklahoma to actually measure whether or not the kids of the kids that are in the private schools taking advantage of the tax credit, if their outcomes are better than the kids in public schools, or if their outcomes are better. I'd like to also see this. Are they doing better in the private schools than they were in the public schools? I think and this stuff should be fairly easy to track, I would think. But I'm curious to know if Texas has set up similar, data points, or are they even going to look at this data so they can measure or not whether the outcomes in the voucher system are working? Because that's the only way to figure out if the voucher system is actually working, if the outcomes improve.
And it will take a while.
It'll take a while.
It'll take a while.
I think 4 years on the short end, because if high school kids are going in, right?
Exactly.
And it could take a little longer on the elementary kids, and 3 years for the middle schoolers. So it takes a little while, but it doesn't take a whole generation.
No, not at all.
But Texas needs to be tracking this data, and I hope they have something in place to do it.
Well,
otherwise it's just a money grab.
Would you agree that the state of Florida, that's been doing this for 20 years, would be a good sample group, a good sample time period, and their results have obviously worked? Tammy adds that Project 2025 was drafted by, quote, Stephen Miller and others. And I guess Stephen Miller is to tie him to the current administration. Again, it's not been adopted by the Trump administration. It is not.
He's a comms guy. He probably was used to make sure it made sense and the English was good.
Well, and Torrin Bale sums up the whole situation. He goes, Project 2025 versus communism. It's an interesting debate, which brings me back around to, is there a chance?
Has Project 2025 killed hundreds of millions of people around the globe? I don't think
never. So. And it brings us back around to, are there people that are just simply saying, I'm just fed up? But I don't understand, and we're going to get to this in a second.
But here's the difference, though, between Project 2025 and communism. Communism is an actual political system. Project 2025 was points, and it wasn't a political system that controls everything. It was basically election points and talking points.
That's right.
It wasn't a guiding principle like communism to remove all wealth and have it all controlled by the government.
Was there anywhere in there that it said like death to America or defund the police or we need to do away with prisons, open our borders? Was there any of that in that Project 2025?
No, I don't believe so. I think
I'll take my chances
the other way.
I'll take my chances with that. Good morning, David Ballard. There may be no process in Texas to monitor progress, but I'll tell you that I think when you see SAT scores, college admissions, and what happens, I think there's a chance.
Well, the problem is that Texas doesn't require the SAT or the ACT for admissions, so I'm not sure we're going to see a lot of correlation. In fact, I think a lot of Texas kids aren't even writing those exams or taking those exams anymore.
How does that work? How do you get in? Every kid I know takes the SAT, and those that want to go to A&M also take the ACT. I don't think you can get into the University of Texas without an SAT score. I'm not arguing with you. You're the academic.
I don't think they're required by any Texas school anymore. I could be wrong, but I don't believe they are.
I think there's a chance you are. Good luck getting into a major university without.
I'm not saying you don't need them. I'm saying I don't think they're required.
they're not required unless you actually want to go there. Folks, Veracruz Restaurant inviting you in for Caldo Wednesday. Why don't you use this time to Google oh great sayer of things. Veracruz telling you that Caldo Wednesday is the day of the week for the Caldo de Res. It is a wonderful assemblage of beef broth, potatoes, carrots, cabbage. The cabbage is so good, along with beef in a soupy stew that will make your tummy happy. USA Concrete Coatings, end of the season, a good time to Shelby's on her way to school. Good morning, everybody. That's Wendy Hughes Garcia. How's
Morning,
everybody?
Shelby.
Awesome.
UT requires it. A&M, Texas Tech, University of Houston remain test optional.
There you go. That's why there's one flagship university in this state. USA Foundation Repair. They can level it. They can shim your pier and beam house. They can do whatever you need done. Just call 578-HOME. Let Charlie Garcia come out and give you a quote. Chesnick Furniture. Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Just get in and see why you always do better at Chesnick. Bobby Leon and his family serving you and yours for over 100 years. Get in and see Chesnick Furniture today. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Tonight, Wade and Carter Bingo Night. Bob Constantine, Gary Moses Memorial Bingo Night. Get in there tonight and enjoy games, fun. We'll tell some stories about the Brother Man.
The L&L Grill.
Yeah, the L&L Grill. Get there early, have a cheeseburger. Their food is fantastic. Even Dawn lets me eat a cheeseburger when I go there. Yep. White Wing Materials. You need
920 sand is the number to call for all your infill needs, backfill. If you want topsoil, if you want to top dress, get sand. It fills the low spots nicely, and it also allows water to get down to the roots. So that's the way to go if you're going to top dress, in my opinion. But give White Wing Materials a call, and Clayton and Brian can help you sort out what you need for your project. They've got all, if you're going to put down patio pavers, I wouldn't do it yet. Too darn hot. But in the fall, you want to do something nice like that, or a walkway, they can help you do that and pick out the right sand to make it level and it won't move around.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead, because I've been working on a re-education program. I'm going to throw in, Tammy throws out that Joe Biden isn't president anymore. We're not in a quagmire in Iran. Not right there. That jumping off point right there is what gets you in trouble. Stay on topic. Be a part of the program. I do want to tell you about something that concerns me. If I were to tell you, Ash, just you as an individual, not you as a radio god, if I were to throw out to you that you're just kind of a co-god, not the god, but kind of a god, with a little G, with a little G. If I were to throw out to you that they're the home of Henry Ford, the headquarters of the Ford Motor Company, a mere 7 miles from the inner city of Detroit, Michigan. If I told you that Dearborn, Michigan, famous town, Dearborn, home of Fisher Auto Body. This is an American, we can do this city, has a Muslim mayor, a Muslim police chief, and that yesterday, oh, by the way, 45% of the Dearborn, Michigan police force is Arab. The article did not extrapolate whether they were actually practicing Muslims, just that they're Arab. 45,000 Muslims screaming in the streets of Dearborn. Yesterday, a guy who's a known agitator, I think his last name is Lake. I don't know. Jacob Lake, I think. So he's a nut. But he made the mistake in America, in an American city, of saying Jesus is king, was assaulted, beat on, put into a There you go, Timmy. See that one right there? It's just, there you go. You just lost me. Quit. Just stop. Be mature. They drag this guy. They attempt to drag this guy, Jake Lang. That's right, Lisa. They tried to drag this guy out of a police car where he had to be put to be protected for simply saying Jesus is king, but he was in the wrong environment, man. Like
this guy doesn't deserve. I mean, Jake Lang, whatever. This guy doesn't deserve any. I mean, aside from being beaten,
yeah, he's
simply espousing that, absolutely wrong. But this guy is such an idiot. He doesn't deserve any publicity or airtime either.
100%. But it is unfortunate that in the same breath that you and I have said for numerous years, everything's for years now because we've been right for so long. There's just places you shouldn't go, right? Don't go to North Korea and steal something off the hotel wall. You're going to get beat and put in prison, and you've got it coming because you're an idiot.
Well, but North Korea is different.
Okay, but you shouldn't have to say that about an American on American soil in an American city in a quote-unquote Christian country. He should not be accosted or assaulted for saying Jesus is king. And the fact of the matter is, all these muzzies are a matter of national security. Don't talk to me about freedom of religion. Don't talk to me about freedom of assembly. Don't talk to me about freedom of speech. This is not what the founding fathers intended when you've got a group of people who don't like our culture, who don't like our civilization, whose stated goal is to supplant our leadership and change our way of government. Don't come in here and say, well, because what we're doing is we're testing the limits of the experiment. And I'm telling you, these people, in quotations, these people are a threat to our national security.
Well, I find it hard to believe 45,000 of them just chose Dearborn, Michigan as the place to live. There had to be some government compliance, coercion, assistance, cooperation. Same thing with the Somali enclave in Minneapolis. You moved from one of the warmest countries in the world to one of the coldest parts of America.
Right. Because they're sympathetic to it in Michigan because they've allowed it to happen. John Paul goes back. He says, is the SAT not required because you're auto accepted due to class rank? The problem with auto acceptance is that number, it used to be 10%. Top 10% because it's, Texas state schools. Top 10% of Texas students get into our schools, no problem. That's over. At Texas, UT was one of the first because they're landlocked. They've only got 40 acres up there. They were drugged down to like 7, 6. I think A&M, honestly, I think it's 4 or 5%.
Yeah, well, I think the state law is less, or I think it's around 8%. But the fact of the matter is the schools can cap their enrollment because they only have much space. So even you might get accepted, you're not getting in.
I don't think there's anybody enrolled at either Texas or Texas A&M that didn't take the SAT, the ACT, or both.
It's not required in A&M, but it certainly helps make your case to get into A&M.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to be, in my opinion, to use a word, you'd have to be an idiot to try to go to A&M and not take the SAT. Although being an idiot might get you to the top of the Phi Beta Kappa list. Katie Jackson checking in from Calhoun County says Muslims have been working to get to this point in Dearborn since the 1960s or 70s. I remember my grandparents, quote, complaining about ragheads since I was a wee one. They are playing the long game. They've been fighting in the desert for 3,000 years. They are not afraid to wait generations to take over. The idea that we as Americans, especially if you happen to proclaim yourself to be a Christian, the idea that we turn a blind eye and say, well, that's happening in Michigan, it can't happen here. I'll ask you this. whether you think Ken Paxton is a philandering, real estate swindling jolt of an idiot, or you think James Tallarico, if you're really dumb enough to believe that he's not a junior high teacher who decided to proclaim himself a pastor, if you either way, which one do you think is going to be more welcoming and tolerant of an increasing Muslim influence in our state? Is it going to be Ken Paxton, the hardline attorney general, or is it going to be James Tallarico, who masquerades on TV ads in a Chevy pickup when I guarantee you that guy drives a Prius? I guarantee you he rides a bike to school.
Where's the left who were quick to point out that Ken Paxton cheated on his wife, but have gone completely silent on the fact that James Tallarico has now had 2 verified affairs with, or relationships, because he's not married, 2 relationships with staffers.
At least they were both women. I mean, I really thought he was
with
swinging the other team.
But you're certainly violent. I mean, in some states, a boss having an affair with a subordinate is sexual assault.
Yeah.
And the left has gone completely quiet on this. His latest girlfriend, apparently, once people were finding out they were actually together, she decided to quit her position as his chief of staff. And then he quickly tried to call in a bunch of favors in this Texas state government to get her a job in government because, it's what
Bill Clinton.
No. And so then what does he do? Can't get her, tries to get her a job in government. And then this past weekend, he was on vacation. Well, it turns out he's vacationing with the billionaires that he professes to hate, the guys that have funded his campaign.
That's
so
right.
This guy is not he's not a, there's nothing novel, refreshing about him. He's the same crappy, typical politician that we always elect. He just has a D in front of his name instead of an R.
Right.
And I'm not, and trust me, I've met Ken Paxton. I think he's a great speaker. I liked him when I met him. I don't think he's a great person, but I think he was a heck of an attorney general for Texas. And I think he'd do a heck of a job as senator. And I can separate the two. The two can be mutually exclusive and don't have to be related to one another to get the job done. But it's completely hypocritical by the left to completely ignore all of these dalliances by James Tallarico that are coming to light because you call out the right for the exact same.
That's right.
Behaviors.
In an ideal world, you would have good people running for office, people that were true public servants, people that really had a heart, people that were genuine. And I mean this, people like AJ Louderback, people like Michael Cloud. We're very blessed in this area, Lois Colkhorst, very blessed to have these people in our midst. But if one of them wasn't such a great person, at this point, to me, they are just a tool to do a job. Ideally, I have a yellow pencil in my hand on the first day of school. But if it happens to be a purple pencil, it still takes notes. I need it to be a pencil. I don't need it to be my pastor, my pope, my mentor, my moral compass, because none of these people signed up to be your moral compass. You never heard AJ Louderback say at a gathering, and I want you to know I'm going to lead a sin-free life. If you need me, I'll be at my Father's house praying for all of you. He never said that. He may do that on your behalf. At the time, we wanted him to help close the border, which he absolutely was instrumental in helping promote. I don't think that Ken Paxton being a bulldog attorney versus James Tallarico being a mamby-pamby, now apparently horny schoolboy, there is no contest here for me. And I still ask you, which one of our potential senators do you believe would say enough of this Muslim infiltration? This has got to stop. Do you think it's Tallarico on the left or is it Paxton on the right?
Well, I find it interesting, and I brought his name up the other day, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's running for Congress in Arizona. He's an Arab. He's a Muslim. He calls this out. I've listened to interviews. I've read what he's talked about. What you just said going on in Dearborn, Michigan, he absolutely believes it's a caliphate or caliphate-like behavior to take over this country, because he even says it. The radical Islam and the politicization of Islam that is being used throughout the Middle East is not compatible with Western civilization and Western values. It's just not. These are his words. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but here is a moderate Arab running as a Republican in Arizona for Congress, and he's exposing what the Muslims are doing, funded by the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE and all these other groups that he thinks should be, the leaders should be arrested because they haven't registered as foreign political activists or whatever. I can't remember the exact phrase, right? This is an Arab calling out his Muslim brothers for what they're doing. He's had death threats against him. His family's been threatened. You can't tell me there's nothing here when he's doing this and putting his life in danger. He's calling it out, and the mainstream media completely ignores it.
Right. No, 100%. Yeah. And back on subject and worthy of, first of all, Katie Jackson, I apologize, ma'am. I know you're in Aransas County. I was just on a roll. Tammy comes back on topic, says Islamophobia, when it comes to Muslim citizens, is aptly named phobia. I don't have a problem with that. I have some Muslim friends. I have Muslim neighbors. They're great people. But I mean, I'm an infidel. There's just no getting around it. To their religious leaders,
to the extreme side, and I think the imams that encourage this, yes. To guys like Jasser, no, you're not.
But the guys that were standing and screaming death to America on American soil in Dearborn, Michigan, to them, I'm an infidel. Lisa Poole asked, where are her comments? We can't respond to her. I want everybody to know we never block anybody on this show.
Nope.
Although Tammy comes in once again in ignorance and off topic, blocked, badge of honor. I just let people go and expose themselves, and it happens, it is what it is.
I think if you're yelling death to America, if you're beating up American citizens for voicing their opinions and their First Amendment right to peacefully assemble as you do, you're no longer peacefully assembling. And I think if you're a naturalized citizen, that should be an option for citizenship review and revocation. If you're naturalized, if you're born here, I guess we're stuck with you under current laws. But I think if you've been naturalized, the government has every right to review your conduct as an American and determine, you know what, that's maybe un-American behavior and you don't deserve citizenship anymore. I
agree. Katie
Jackson, and I'm a naturalized citizen, and I agree with that.
When you take a breath, I have a point. I'm not voting for a pope. I'm voting for a U.S. senator, says Katie Jackson. Andrew Alvarez says, I'm not electing my saviors. I'm electing a politician. John Paul Hall said, why are you in school at your age and with a purple pencil? It was somewhat of an analogy. There you go. Tammy echoes again, blocked. She's not blocked. I can read it. It's right there. I mean, just the paranoia of the left is just unbelievable. Patrick Strauss, thanks for the segue. You haven't told me you saw my video yet. The First State Bank of Louise Astros update brought to you. Astros lose last night to the hapless San Francisco Giants. Giants now 49-70.
Writing was on the wall in the first two innings when the Astros left bases loaded twice, cashed in one run.
They lose 4-1. They don't have anybody on their team that I would like to have, except what was that kid's name? Was his name? Like, I'm making it up. Austin Hayes. Who was that kid that got a single last night that used to be in our program? He was drafted 28th overall. We must have traded him in one of those things when we didn't think that he was going to matter. Probably. But at the end of the day, he got a hit. He got a hit in the first RBI. Jose Altuve hit on the foot. They put in a really terrible Nick Allen. He reminds me of Rick Moranis. I have no need, no use at all for Nick Allen. There's absolutely no chance he's the best available second baseman in our system. I don't know why he's there.
When they brought him in, they were hoping he'd turn into a cheaper version and a little bit younger version of Mauricio Dubon.
Yeah, that didn't work.
And they thought they could fix his swing, and they weren't able to do it.
That's right. Ricky King coming back to the reality says, don't kid yourself. If they're Muslims, they're going to kill you because they're Muslims. And you're an infidel. And that's what their religion says to do. They may be nice now, but they're going to turn. 100%. 100% agree that just, if nothing else, to go along to get along. There's no way that your Muslim neighbor is going to stand up against the Islamist when the garbage hits the fan. It doesn't mean they may actively go out and try to kill you as your neighbor. It just means they're dang sure not going to step into the street and defend you when the bad people show up. That's the fact. Astros did suck last night, but the First State Bank of Louise does not. We have a local branch here in Victoria at the corner of Salem and John Stockbauer. It is absolutely the friendliest little bank anywhere. When you walk in, they'll say, welcome to the friendliest bank anywhere. They are the nicest people. They are the most accommodating people. Right now, if you go in, and I've told you to do this before, if you haven't done it, do it. Free checking, free savings. Go in and open your little infidel a checking account. They can bank online on the app. They can transfer money. They can use a debit card. They can learn the value of money, put their allowance into that account, and guess what? They get a Bluetooth speaker for free just for opening the account. Send them into the First State Bank of Louise today. Okay, Jonathan Williams says that kid, Logan Gilbert, was traded to the Mets for Justin Verlander. I call that good riddance, good acquisition. Yeah. Allison, you're just late to the program. We've got 50,000 people that say that.
Yeah. Pete Strauss sums it up last night for the Astros. The Giants pitcher threw 55 pitches in the first 2 innings and still went 6 innings because we couldn't chase him. We couldn't get it done.
He went 4 innings of basically 4 innings of 3 up, 3 down. The Astros jumped on every first pitch and popped it up.
Yeah, well, it was a terrible discipline at the plate after you load the bases and then you end up with nothing. 1 run with the bases loaded. I think in the second inning, bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, Jonathan,
you can't cash in.
They went from being patient and it was working, even if not scoring, to swinging at everything, and it's a dog. And the guy that's been emblematic, the guy who's done that the most, is our own Hall of Famer Jose Altuve. As you pointed out way early in the season when it was working, when Altuve was batting about 312, you pointed out, hey, man, he's more patient at the plate. He's not jumping on every first pitch.
He was taking walks, and he's not doing either of those anymore.
He goes up last night, hits a foul ball down third, hits another foul ball down third. So, Lisa, I was not getting on to Allison at all. I was just saying she took a whole paragraph to point out what we all absolutely know. So welcome to the program, and I'm glad that you listen.
Astros and Giants wrap up that series this afternoon. A tough series. The Padres series, lost 2 or 3. Padres, a good baseball team. There's no excuse if they lose this afternoon, there's no excuse to lose 2 or 3 to a Giants team that is 20 games under 500. None.
Right. There's no reason that you're right. 20 games under 500, and we lose to them. Yeah. Let's take another quick break, and I'll get back to you in just a moment. We've talked about pretty much everything. Well, we haven't talked about Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Let Allen's be your go-to tow-to. They are here to help you, and they will help you. Allen's can give you everything from a jump to uprighting an 18-wheeler to going and basically performing as a first responder. They put out cones. They divert traffic. They can help you stay safe in the event that you need a tow truck. Went Services, they're everything Allen's is, but about electricity. if you need a plug in a building, if you need to rewire an entire house, building, complex, if you need a Generac turnkey whole house generator, call Went Services. They have the people on staff to come out. They can dig the trench, lay the line, connect the generator to your home, connect the fuel source, provide the fuel source. Went Services, turnkey generator service. Brand us, call Commander Cody. You need help with a website, check him out on Facebook. You can ask him questions for free. Paravita Wellness and the Vita Cafe inviting you in to just get healthy. Go by and say, look, I need to get my macros right. I need more protein. I need fewer carbs. I need all kinds of things, whatever. Show them your blood work. Erica Briggs can help you develop a diet for you. Absolutely. Pete Strauss, back to the Astros update. It is for us, it's a never ending Astros update because we love the Astros. And I put that comment up. I don't know how I did it, but it just showed up there. It says if Velasquez, which is our new guy, if Velasquez challenges the 3-0 pitch, we have an RBI walk. Stros are pretty bad at their challenges. That's true. And I do wonder how you fix it. There were several times that I was like, we need to challenge that.
Jonathan Williams is a good point too. After the 3-hole, it's a void of nothing until Cam Smith. And here's the crazy thing about Cam Smith. He's been hot lately.
Yep.
But his average is still 226.
Well,
it's not like he's been producing all year.
But
that's why he's in the 8-hole.
I think about the last 6 games, he's hitting in the 400 range. You know, it's like red coming up 3 times in a row on a roulette wheel. It doesn't mean anything except that the other day, day before yesterday, Cam Smith hit a 400-foot home run, 402 into left field that left at 114 miles an hour at a 17-degree launch angle. Most of the time those balls launch in the 30-degree range. And let me tell you, this ball never got over 51 feet off the ground. He hit a line drive, 402 feet, that was just obliterated. And Yordan Alvarez came up last night and he hit a home run as well that was 118 miles an hour off the bat. It was like the hardest hit ball since they've been doing the Comcast deal at Oracle Stadium. I mean, the guy, Yordan, is unbelievable. Now, I don't know what his stat line was last night. He did have a sac fly, so that didn't hurt.
0-for-1 with an RBI and a walk.
That's fine. He went into the game. His split was 323, led the American League. 35 home runs, led the American League. 86 RBIs, leads the American League. He now has 87 RBIs, and his average may have dropped a point, too. Maybe it's 3.
I think, and he's right there for slugging percentage. He's right there for on base plus slugging. And if he could finish the season leading those 5 offensive categories, only Mickey Mantle and I believe Roger Hornsby have ever done that in a Major League Baseball season, and they've only done it once.
And by the way, I've never been a guy, like when you tell me Tom Brady is clearly the GOAT, I say things like Joe Montana would like to have a word with you. Because I remember at the time that Joe Montana retired that everybody was like, there'll never be another quarterback like that. And then, of course, along came Tom Brady, and young people just can't relate. Young people say LeBron, they can't relate to the greatness of Michael Jordan. So I give you that asterisk to add. I don't know what Rogers Hornsby would do now when Hunter Brown throws a 98-mile-an-hour two-seamer at him.
To be honest, he probably couldn't get that 55-ounce bat around.
True story. So it doesn't detract from what he did, but to assume, whereas I'll tell you that Mickey Mantle was by every account a modern era player.
Yeah, but to think of all the hundreds of thousands of Major League Baseball players that have played the game, only 2 have ever led in the league in home runs, average, RBIs, slugging percentage, and on base plus slugging.
That's right.
That tells you. I mean,
you go back and look, and I know my years are right. I'm not sure if my fact is right. In 41 and in 46, Ted Williams, I believe, won the American League Triple Crown. He was gone in the middle there, folks, for this thing called World War II.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, although I'm sure somebody has done a very accurate estimate, barring injury.
And he didn't just go to World War II. He was a fighter pilot.
But I have to believe that if Ted Williams, even as big a jerk as Ted Williams was noted to be, if Ted Williams would have been able to play those 4 extra 5 seasons in baseball, he would hold every important record at the plate in baseball.
Except for maybe home runs.
That's right. Although he hit a ton of bombs.
Yeah. No, he didn't.
He wouldn't hit 700 of them.
No, absolutely. And to think he left for 4 years, came back and picked up right where he left off after dealing with the atrocities and the horror of World War II.
Yeah.
I mean,
not to mention not swinging a bat in theory for 5 years. Can you imagine, though, if Ted Williams had Ken Griffey Jr.'s affability, where you just wanted to be around him? I just can't imagine how marketable that guy could have been. I'll tell you that kid from Oklahoma that switch hit for power and average, that young man named Mickey Mantle would have been a star in any era he could play today. He'd make you wish Mike Trout learned how to switch hit, because
I've still never seen any Major League Baseball player with bigger forearms than Mickey Mantle.
He was just a star. Yeah. Jonathan Williams with a better question. Imagine if today's players had to go to war. Amen to that. Yeah. Or Yordan Alvarez as a fighter pilot. I can't close the canopy. Unbelievable.
Be like David Robinson on a submarine.
Some quick hits. The government decided that Medicaid will no longer pay for your transition. Interesting things going on. There are guys that used to be men that are now believe that they're women. I think a lot of it's opportunistic. I think you ought to be able to say, well, if you're really serious as a man about wanting to play in the WNBA, let's lop your bits off. If they are willing to do that, maybe let them do that.
I think it's interesting that 2 men who are men have declared for the WNBA draft in April.
It's hilarious.
And because there's nothing in there that prevents them from being in the WNBA, and the fact that it's been largely met with silence right now by the WNBA tells you all you need to know about their superficial stance on transgender players playing in the WNBA, because they want transgenders to play in the league, or some of them do. Sophie Cunningham, not one of them,
right.
But she seems to get beaten up every game for her views on this. Even
I
though she's
like
a pretty good player.
I like her. She's 29 years old and she is a gamer, and she's outspoken in her beliefs. I do find it somewhat hypocritical that she's so outspoken in her beliefs, and then she turns around and says the media only focuses on the outside noise. They don't focus on the games themselves. Every interview she has, she talks about how there shouldn't be men in women's basketball. We all agree with that. Anybody that's sane. Somebody that comes in like Peter McNally has come in and said, well, there's so few of them. What difference does it make? I don't know. If Shaquille O'Neal, who's 60 years old, decided tomorrow that he wanted to be known as Shaquisha O'Neal, and he goes and puts on a tutu and plays center for the Indiana Fever, they're winning the championship. And he's 60 years old. So Gary Schmickel says, see you folks tonight. You sure will, Gary, at Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Some more quick hits. Did you see
Texas school will not change their vaccine rules for this year, even though the federal government knocked the list down from 18 to 11. Did a little research. I think there were 4 vaccines that were required when I was born in 1969.
Now there's 74. Donald Trump did confirm yesterday what we reported to you yesterday, that Donald Trump was whisked away from Air Force One in a catering truck because they believe they had a credible threat from Iran against Air Force One. I like the president's response. I don't know anything about it. I get lots of threats. I'll just tell you that when the Secret Service and our military tell me to go get in the truck, I go get in the truck. God bless you, DJT. Thank you for weathering the storm that you didn't have to weather. The kid in Arkansas, Ash, picks up his helmet, goes to football practice, finds out later there was it looked fairly substantial water moccasin up between the webbing in the helmet and the helmet itself.
2 feet long.
Could have bitten him on the head at any time, would have made him really sick. His head would have swollen up like a basketball. In fact, they may have had to cut that helmet off that kid to get it out. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it. I walked into the Texan today to get a little iced tea, and I walked over and I told a kid, I go, "Oh, you got football practice today?" And he goes, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Check your helmet. Make sure there's not a snake in it." Jonathan Wayne says, "What did Trump eat on the truck?" Trump ate whatever he wanted. That's because he is the boss. Folks, We've reached the top of the hour. We love you guys. All of you, even you who's not blocked. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you mañana.
Bye, folks.